these differences. And we poor mortals have to work with this, confusing surface of appearances because we can't get access to the genetic code. Well, this is quite true, but I'm afraid what you're saying, what you're telling me, is that actually these things which you can see are also signifiers. You are reading them as signs of a code which you can't see. You assume that it's the genetic code that produces these gross differences of color, hair, and bone. And only because of that can you use that as the way of distinguishing between one group of people and another. If I said, well, it just happened by chance, that's not the answer we're looking for. We're looking for the fact that you can read the body as a text. It is a text. Now, my friends, I know you will say, if you hit me, if you cut me, I bleed. If you run over me in the street, as is frequently the case in front of, the New Cross, I'll be flattened. You can't tell me it's a text. It may be, but insofar as what we are talking about are the systems of classifying difference, the body is a text. And we are all readers of it. And we go around looking at this text, inspecting it like literary critics, closer and closer, for those very fine differences, those subtle differences of metaphor. And then when that doesn't work, we start to run like a true structuralist. We start to run the combinations. Well, if I perm, not so big nose with rather fuzzy hair, and sort of largish behind, and goodness knows what, I might sort of come out with a kind of approximation. We are readers of race. That's what we're doing. We are readers of social difference. And the body hair, which, is cited as if this is what terminates the argument. When you say race is a signifier, no, it's not. See, the folks out there, they're different. You can tell they're different. Well, that very obviousness, the very obviousness of the visibility of race is what persuades me that it functions because it is signifying something. It is a text which we can read. Now, this notion that even the genetic code, then, is only imprinted on us, as it were, through the body, rather than on the body, that you can't stop at the surface of the black body itself, as if that, well, I was going to say, as if that brought the argument to a close, but that is exactly why the body is invoked in the discourse in that way, in the hope that it will bring the argument to a close. That if you invoke reality itself, if you say to the blackest person in the room, step this way, somehow pointing to him or her will destroy all my argument. Just look there. That is exactly what the function of invoking the body, as if it is the ultimate transcendental signifier. As if this is, the marker beyond which all argument will stop, all language will cease, all discourse will fall away before this reality. I think we can't turn to the reality of race, because the reality of race itself is what is standing in the way of our understanding, in a profound way, what the meaning is of saying that race is a cultural system. In Fanon's book, Black Skin, White Masks, where, as I've said, he's entranced and he's obsessed by the trauma of his own appearance and of what it means. He's driven wild by the fact that he is caught and locked in this body which the white other knows just by looking at him. That the other can see through him just by reading the text of the black body. He's obsessed by that fact. And yet, as I'm sure you know, when it came to it, the power and importance of Black Skin, White Masks is that Fanon understood that beneath what he called the bodily and corporeal schema is another schema, a schema composed of the stories and the anecdotes and the metaphors and the images, which it really, he says, what constructs the relationship between the body and its social and cultural space. These stories, not the fact itself. The fact itself is just exactly that trap of the surface, which allows us to rest with what is obvious, what is manifestly there, what offers it to us as its symptom of appearance, to stand in the place of what is in fact one of the most profound and deeply complex of the cultural systems which allow us to make a distinction between inside and outside, between us and them, between who belongs and who doesn't belong. That apparently simple, obvious, and banal fact requires the invocation of territories of knowledge in order to produce it as a simple, obvious, visible fact. In this way, race is more like sexual difference. Racial difference is more like sexual difference than it is like the other systems of difference, precisely because anatomy, physiology, appears to wind the question up. And what we know about and have learned gradually about sexual difference, that is to say, the profundity of the depth that lies behind the making of that distinction, is what we need now to begin to learn about the languages of race which we speak. Though race cannot perform the function that it was asked to do by providing the truth and fixing that truth beyond the shadow of a doubt, it is difficult to get rid of because it is so difficult in the languages of race to do without some kind of foundational guarantee. And the point that I'm making there about the necessity of a foundational guarantee is not a theoretical argument, or not a theoretical argument only, it is a political argument. Because so much of the politics, both of race and of anti-race, are founded on the notion that somehow, somewhere, either biology or genetics or physiology or color or something other than human history and culture will guarantee the truth and authenticity of the things we believe and want to do. It is the search for that guarantee, as much in the politics of anti-racism as in the politics of racism, which makes us, which addicts us to the preservation of the biological trace. It is hard to give up because, in the end, we don't know what it is like to try to conduct a politics, especially a politics of anti-racism, without a guarantee. We don't know what it is like to conduct a politics without a guarantee. We want somehow to be told something which tells us that the contingent, open-ended, usually wrong political choices we make can in the end be read off against some other more scientific, theoretical template, which if we only had hold of at the beginning would have told us what was right and what was not. We need the guarantee. We need to have in the sleep of reason that which says, yes, do it, because it not only feels right and looks right and is the right thing as far as your calculations can take it, but in the end, it will be right. There is something which will make it right. That is because the people holding it, after all, these are the people these are the good people. How, in the name of people who have come together around this common form of identification, how could they be wrong? But the truth is that, like all ordinary human beings, we could all be wrong, and often are, quite usually are. In fact, in our politics, almost always are, you might say. I mean, the one thing that we are not is guaranteed in the truth of what we do. Indeed, I believe that without that kind of guarantee, we would need to begin again